Hello everyone, my name is Brian and welcome back to Bally Spring. So as you can see, you are joining me on what is an absolutely cracking morning down here. Just sun absolutely splitting the trees. I mean, it's only just gone 11 AM and man, the heat out here today is unreal. Perfect weather for making hay here pretty much. And if you can't tell, we are actually down in the field at the back of Wes's dealership here, and that is of course what we are getting ready to do. As you can see, this field has been mowed, tedded and also rowed. I did initially hope to bring you along on the rowing, but a little bit of a technical snafu. You know, I don't want to get too much into the weeds with the tech jargon because it can be a little bit complicated and might go over some people's heads, but a vital part of recording any vlog is that you have to make sure to hit this one particular button. It's this little button with a red dot on it, and just above it are the letters REC. Now I've no idea what it stands for, but it turns out that if you don't hit that button, you don't really record a video at all. And yeah, basically by the time I'd noticed what had happened, I'd already finished raking, and yeah, so sorry about that, but don't worry, there'll be plenty more raking in this series to come, and I'll definitely bring you along the next time. Now, given that we were down here raking, you are right to assume that I have indeed bought a rake. But as you might notice up there, that is not one of the rakes that we went to look at. This is instead the little V-rake that Wes was selling. I have decided to actually opt for this one, despite my hesitations with it. I will say it is a lovely clean little rake. I know I'm parked in the long grass here, but the bodywork is in really good condition. I get the impression they might have resprayed it, to be honest with you. Only the tines are really showing a little bit of wear, but that's surely to be expected. But yeah, the reason I've opted to go with this is basically I just couldn't justify the money on that class liner. It was too much, you know. At 4,800 I was able to get him to come down to 4,600, but you know, I told you that my budget was around, say, between sort of, you know, 3,500 and 4,000, but I was really hoping to come in on the lower end of that, or even under it if at all possible. And well, Wes was looking 2,800 for this. He said he'd do it for 2,700. He also said he'd take the hay bob off me, which he's given me 1,200 on that. So yeah, I've ended up paying 1,500 for this. You know, I had factored in the sale of the hay bob in towards my budget for one, so but we're still coming in under budget at 2,700. Now, I did mention that I was hesitant about this rake because, well, I was a little bit concerned that it was going to be awkward, and well, it has been kind of actually proving its awkwardness a little bit. Field 69 was grand. In fact, I'd say it did a pretty nice job in there. But Field 71, which is a little bit more of a round field, it struggled in there. It definitely did. And it struggled in Field 72 as well, simply because of its size. Now, down here was kind of awkward as well, but it was awkward for different reasons. Because as you can see, this is a very elongated field. And it's actually in a dog-legged shape as well. The field sort of drifts to your right as you head on down there, and so, you know, when I was trying to do anything down here, I have to say it wasn't my favourite field to work in so far. When I was mowing, I tried to open up the field on the far side by pretty much sticking straight with the fence line up there and going to the far end of the field, but it was a really bad idea, to be honest, because I ended up leaving myself a whole heap of short rows on this side, and I kept having to do a little short row, then drive the whole way to the bottom of the field to come back up the centre. And yeah, like I said, it wasn't the best plan. I think I'd take a different approach the next time. I've also kind of took a little bit of another approach with the raking of it, because what I've actually done is I followed the headlands on both sides, and my hope was that we might kind of actually meet up in the middle, and well, it kind of worked. You know, we were never going to eliminate any little short strokes. We still definitely have a few, as you can see here, but we just wanted to do our best to minimise it, and yeah, I think we actually did pretty alright on that front. You'll get a better look at it when we're baling, and you'll probably see the issues I was talking to. But speaking of baling, we better get cracking back up to the farm. I'm going to grab a quick mug of tea, and yeah, then we're going to get out and get baling our first bales, which, yeah, pretty exciting. So let's get on with it. Right, that should do it. Right, everyone, we are just about ready to get out and get baling. I have just given our little baler a quick little look over. It was only baling the other day, of course, so it should be fine. But we've got new rolls of netting into it there now as well, and yeah, we should be all good to go. There's only one more thing left for us to do before we get out and start baling. And that is an important part of the process of making hay, which is to test our hay. So I have already tested, to be perfectly honest with you, but I'm just going to run through it here to give you an idea. So as you can see, I have a bucket here, and in that bucket I have a sample just from this field up here, from field 72, which is only a very small field, of course. So I've taken a quick sample here from the near row, from a middle row, and on the far side I just grabbed some hay from the bottom of the sward, and we put it into the bucket and we stamp it down, and that just makes it easier for our probe to get a reading, because it sort of simulates the what a bale would be like when it's all compacted together. And we'll get our probe in here, and it'll just take a minute there at first to get a reading, but basically we're looking for a reading of about under, say, 15% or so for the size of bale that we are making. If you were making slightly larger bales, you might be looking for a slightly lower percentage. You might be looking for under 14 or even 13 possibly. If you were making small square bales, you could have a higher moisture content. It could be 18% or maybe even up to 20 as a stretch, but going over 20 would be a bad idea, because, well, going over 20 would lead to well, basically you're creating a perfect breeding ground for things like bacteria and fungi, and I'm not talking about the sort of fungi like I am. I'm talking about mold, of course, and the last thing anyone wants to do is run the risk of making mouldy feed. Obviously that's not going to be very good for your cattle, but you are playing with fire quite literally, because mouldy hay is very, very good at retaining heat, and while it's not a common occurrence, it's not completely unheard of to have bales that spontaneously combust and just go up in fire. Like, you know, it definitely has happened. Lads have lost whole sheds because of that, like, you know, in the past. And so for a long, long time, lads actually thought the best way to make hay was to bale it at 0% moisture, because that way you were absolutely assured that you were not going to have mouldy hay. But, you know, as times have progressed and science has progressed, we've learned that, like, baling at that percentage is not a good idea either, because you're actually losing your nutritional value out of your hay. It's like I said, if we're aiming for under 15%, but we want to get as close to 15% as we possibly can, because that's going to ensure we have the maximum amount of nutritional value that we can in our hay, but also we're not running the risk of any mold. And so our probe is just done there, and that has spit us out a reading of 13.8%. So that is absolutely perfect, bang on. I wouldn't mind seeing it a little bit higher, as like I said, you're aiming for 15% or as close to it as you possibly can, but that's not always possible either. But yeah, that ensures that we are going to be making a very good quality hay. And that, of course, is very important, especially in our situation, because, well, we are going to be looking to sell our hay, and we are going to be looking to sell pretty much all of it, of course, because, well, we have no cattle to feed or anything. But, you know, when you produce good quality hay like that, you're hopefully going to end up getting a little bit more money for it, and, like I said, that is the hope for us. So we'll get on into the field here, and as you can see, there is a very, very good crop of hay out here. I was actually surprised with it, to be honest. We'll just get our PTO on. our pickup is going down, and we'll pull nice and slowly onto the rows here, just not to avoid choking or anything. And yeah, we'll get going. Yeah, I know Kevin had fertilised down here, but I didn't think that he would have put on any big amount of fertiliser. But yeah, pleasantly surprised, to be honest. Seems like a very, very good crop. I was really, really happy with it. And we are just about full here already with our first bale, which is great news for us. Now, we'll go back a little bit here onto the flat, because I don't really want it to roll away on us. And we'll hop out and have a quick look at it here. And there she is, everyone. Our very first bale off this farm. Our very first piece of produce. You know what? I think I'm going to snap a quick little picture of that. Isn't that quite the sight? Yeah, it's a little milestone moment, I guess. You know, I know it's only a bale, and it's not even the first bale we've produced in this series, but you know, life goes by quickly, and sometimes it goes by quicker than you even realise, and sometimes it's important to just remember to slow down a little bit, and you know, to really take in moments like this, because, well, they don't come along all that often in life, you know, and I think everyone could really benefit from just slowing down and learning to savour these things. Anyway, that's enough of this making around. Come on, let's get back to work. Right, so as you can see, we are baling away. I have actually just skipped us ahead to, we are back down at the field at the back of Wes's. I needed to just sort of get my head down and get cracking on with it, because obviously we've a big job ahead of us here today. So it's just gone 3:15 though, so we're not making too bad a time at all. Actually, we're getting on fairly well. We had 46 bales total came off our other 3 fields up at the farm, and I'm hoping to actually see probably a pretty similar number come off this field down here. This field, believe it or not, is pretty much equivalent to those 3 fields. In terms of acreage, it's a bigger field than you might think at first, because it's actually quite a long field. So yeah, like I was saying, I hope we're going to get a good return. I don't know what the situation down here was with fertilizer, but there seems to be a good crop on it again, so I'm definitely not complaining. Kevin was obviously looking after it. I suppose he didn't know whether he was going to be selling it or not, so makes sense, I guess. Now, the next thing I was going to do was I was going to give you a little update on our international. So after the last day, the next morning I got into the shed and I got the bonnet off, and I whipped the head off. Actually didn't take too long at all. Once you have the bonnet off and those, you actually have loads of room. So I had it off by about midday. It's hard to actually say whether the head gasket itself was gone or not, but that said, I did find the problem. So once I got the head off and I flipped the head over, I discovered that the head was actually cracked. It was cracked right next to cylinder 3, and also right next to a coolant port, which might be well why it was leaking coolant down into the oil. But Kevin did say it wasn't boiling. He said it was only, you know, sort of running hot, and normally if the head gasket was gone, it would definitely be boiling. So that might kind of explain what was going on there. But with a crack in the head like that, it would of course been losing compression and losing power, and that's probably why it got harder started and why it was running so rough, because essentially it was only running on 3 cylinders at that point. So yeah, effectively that head is unfortunately scrap. Now, the one bit of good news I have is that I have managed to find us a head. Now, I couldn't find anything too locally here, but I did manage to find one up in the north. Now, this guy has a reconditioned head. He's looking £480 for it, which works out at about €550. it's about another €50 to get it couriered down to me. So all in all, we're looking at about 600, which is not too bad. It could definitely be worse. But that, along with all the other bits that we've needed to get, we got service bits for it, obviously oil, air, fuel, heater plugs. We had to get a flush for both the engine and the coolant system itself. We had to get coolant, we had to get oil. I got a new water pump for it because you could see a little bit of corrosion on the old one from where it had been weeping, so best to swap that out. You know, we'll be swapping out all the other seals within the head as well. I'll obviously have to swap over the valves, so we'll be putting in new valves time oil seals. We'll put in new seals on the camshaft. And basically anywhere in the top half of the engine that we can access nice and easy, we'll be putting a new seal into it. So at the end of all this, we should have ourselves, you know, a tractor that is hopefully running fairly well, or at least whoever's going to end up buying it off us. But I did actually run into a couple of little issues. Now, fortunately for us, they're not big problems at all. So one of them was the brakes. The brakes were a little bit sticky when we were trying to load it down at the yard, and I found the reason fairly quickly, because once I got the rear wheels off and I pulled off the shoes, I put a screwdriver to the liner, and basically the liner just separated from the shoe itself. You know, it was pretty rotten. It's probably an age problem more so than wear or anything. So we'll be getting a set of shoes, and we're also going to get a set of cylinders, because both cylinders were actually weeping on it as well, and when we're going that far we might as well go all the way with it, you know. So a little bit of extra cost, but it won't be anything major. On top of that, we had one more little issue, which was got to do with the clutch. Now, Kevin did say there was a new clutch gone into that, and so fortunately it's not a problem with the clutch plate itself or anything, but the clutch pedal was actually kind of sticking on it. It wasn't coming up all the way when you would depress it. And well, basically I had a look around, and I found the problem was actually with the clutch cable itself. Basically a whole heap of wire had at just the very end of the cable where it goes onto the gearbox, it basically had started to unravel, and it got tangled in itself, and every time you were pressing down the clutch, it was of course pulling all that inside the jacket of the cable. And when you would let it off on the clutch pedal, it would get a little bit stuck. It wouldn't travel back through the jacket, which just meant that you were having to put your foot under the pedal and lift it back up sort of manually. So new clutch pedal, or new clutch cable, and like I said, that won't cost us too much. I think that only ran us about €40, which is not too bad at all. But all in all, we are looking at spending about €1,650 on this. It's not worst case scenario, you know. I said worst case scenario might be a situation where we'd end up spending maybe £2,000 on it, and it's not quite that bad, but it is a little bit more than I was hoping for. You know, the only one saving grace is that we did end up getting the tractor a little bit cheaper, and that's definitely going to help us out here, because it gives us a little bit more wiggle room in terms of making a profit, you know. Now, speaking of the profit, we might have been a little bit over optimistic in my estimates of getting 7.5. I have been keeping an eye out online, and I have seen a few of them pop up there, and one's in, I would say, pretty similar condition to our own, and I'm seeing them at prices like 6.3, 6.5, that sort of money. So, you know, we do have the advantage of being able to advertise ours as, you know, having a complete rebuild almost at this stage, so that's going to stand to it definitely. I would say hopefully we can advertise it for about 7,000, and sure, look, if we end up getting 6.8 or 6.7, wouldn't we be doing very well? Like, we'd be earning almost the guts of $3,000 on it at that point. And yeah, I think I would be, you know, pretty happy with that. Right, so that pretty much covers the tractor. And the next thing I was going to touch on was the situation with the slurry tanker. So obviously I didn't buy that Mickey Mouse of a yoke that we were looking at the last day, but I still do need to get us a tanker, of course, and at the present that is a little bit of an issue. Sorry everyone, I think my phone is just vibrating. Just give me a second here. Hello? Oh, how are you going? Yeah, that's right. Oh, sorry about that. My phone must have been on silent. I didn't hear you there. Whereabouts are you? Right. Well, if you're nearly at Brophy's, then you're just there. Basically, go up past Brophy's and just go through the S-bends and then over the little humpback. And I'm the first turn on the right. Yeah, it is a fairly little narrow road, alright. But you should get up it alright. Now, my place is the first place on the left, and I'll tell you this, you're definitely not going to get turned in that gateway of mine. So, when you come to my place, just go past the gateway and go past the house, and you'll see a field there with hay bales in it. Now, I have the gate left open for you and all, so you've nothing to do, just pull on into the field, and once I get you unloaded, then you can turn around in the field and get on your way then again. Is that alright? Yeah, sound. Listen, sorry, before you go, I'm just actually down the town here. I'm kind of bailing there at the moment, so I'll be 6 or 7 minutes there before I get up to you, but you'll probably be there before I am, so just hold on for me there, will you? Yeah, perfect, good man, thanks very much. Alright, talk to you in a second. Bye. Right, sorry about that everyone. So listen, I actually have a little bit of a surprise for yous. You know, I mentioned in the last episode that I hadn't managed to find myself a little runaround yet, but I have a delivery coming today, and well, he's just up at the farm. So I'm just going to get us disconnected here, and we can run back up to the farm and take delivery of this. And yeah, I'll talk to you in a moment. Right everyone, we are just on our way back up to meet this guy, but while we are doing that, I said we might as well finish off our conversation there about the slurry spreader. So like I said, we've still had no luck, and that means we are looking at having to spread solid fertilizer this time around on our grass, which is a little bit unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world, because you might have noticed up at the farm I do actually have 2 pallets of small bags. I got a pretty good deal on that fert, to be honest. I bought it all at the same time, and it was last year's stock, so there might be a few bags in it where some of the fert has gone maybe a little bit hard, but for the most part it should be alright. It's all 3400, which is what I was looking for our potatoes prior to planting. But it should do absolutely fine, I think, on our grass fields there as well. So yeah, like I said, not the end of the world for this time, but not ideal either, because, you know, we want to be saving on fert wherever we can. So we're just back up at the farm, and as you can see, our bales are out in the field. Hopefully, I don't see this guy in the middle of the road anyway, so hopefully he got into the field okay here. But we'll soon find out. And here we are. And as you might be starting to realise, I have pulled a little bit of a fast one on you there, because I was trying to try you off the scent, talking about you know, getting a little run around, because as you can see, what I've actually went and bought is that trail harvester, along with the Donnelly trailer. Right, so we have just got attached up here, and as you can probably see, she's a fairly tight squeeze on that trailer, but we've just about managed to get her off. So we'll get out here and pull on into the yard. Yeah, it was a tighter fit on that trailer than I thought it was, looking at it initially. But we'll get this in, and not exactly sure where I'll park this, to be honest. Maybe down in front of our potato planter. That's not going to be going anywhere for a while. So we'll swing around here and we'll stick that there. Now, I am sure you have lots of questions about what has possessed me to buy this setup, and I will explain just after we get this done here. Just get that dropped off. No PTO or anything on, because there was no need to attach anything. So we'll go back off and get this trailer off, and then I will explain all. Right, so we have our hitch down here. Let's just see if we can pick up our trailer, and again, steady as she goes. It's almost hard to even see the ramp, but we'll take her nice and handy, and there we are. So yeah, like I said, I have a little bit of explaining to do here obviously, but basically the long and the short of it is, when I was down there, I asked them, just out of curiosity, I wanted to get a price on it. It's always sort of good to know the price of machinery there like that anyway, but he said to me that he would have to get about 2,300 for the little harvester. The trailer itself, he said he was looking for 7.2, but he said he was willing to let it all go together in a package deal for about 9,000. Now, I said to him that 9,000 I felt was a little bit steep. I said, you know, you could go online there and probably find any amount of like little Pottinger or JF harvesters there for, you know, 1,500–1,600 euro at the moment, because, well, there's not too many lads that really want them these days. And on top of that, I said I wouldn't fault him on the trailer, because, you know, it's a fairly sound trailer, but it is also the 12-foot trailer, and there's not a lot of lads looking for trailers this small these days now as well. So he said to me, no, well, sorry, I'm missing a step there. I offered him 8 grand. I said I thought that would be a fairer price, and he said to me, no way, he wasn't going to let it go for under 9,000 at first, but eventually he said to me, look, I'll let it go to, he says 8.7. He says 8.7 is really the best I can do. I can't do any better on it. And I says to him, well, I says, look, 8.5. I said, I'll give you 8.5 and it'll be out here today. And he said, no, he said, I already told myself, he said, I wasn't budging from 9,000. He said, I'm not going below 8.7. He said, it's 8.7 or nothing. And I said to him, well, I said, from where I'm standing, I said, it's 8.5 or nothing. I said, I don't really want to go any higher than that. And I said, I'm willing to walk away. And, well, that is basically what I actually did. Right, so I've just let your man in the truck off. He had a tight squeeze getting out of here, let me tell you. I don't think he was too happy with me in that gateway. Even getting into the field was a tight squeeze for him. But I gave him the bank draft to bring back with him, so he was happy enough anyway. And I'm a little bit less happy because of 8,500 euros gone out of my account. But it is what it is. So yeah, like I said, I chose to actually walk away from it the other night, but sure enough, here the next morning I get a phone call around about 11 o'clock. He rings me and he says, look, he says, I think I might have been a little bit hasty to send you away there last night. He says, if you're still interested in the harvester, he says, I'll let it go there at 8.5, he said, along with the trailer, you know. So I said to him, yeah, okay. I said, I'm still interested at 8.5. Now, he says, listen, he says, that is sold as seen, he says, at that money. He said, even at 9,000, he said it was sold as seen. I'm not offering any kind of warranty. And you know, it's understandable, I suppose, but I would have preferred to have a warranty for sure. But look, it is what it is, so I didn't argue with him too much. Hopefully everything will be okay anyway, but that bloody maniac just walks straight out in front of me. But Yeah, like I said, we agreed to do the deal anyway, and I was happy enough. He did assure me that it's running well, and he said he had serviced that yoke personally here the last 4 to 5 years. He said, and he absolutely guarantees me, he says that there's nothing to do with that thing, only pull it out into the field and start harvesting. So I took him at his word, and hopefully he is a man of his word. We'll soon find out, I guess. But now that does leave us with one other quick topic to discuss, and that is our little international. Because well, this kind of changes our plans when it comes to the international. You know, I mentioned to you guys that while it would be possible to do a silage setup like that with just one tractor, it would be an absolute nightmare, and well, it really would. But even, you know, having 2 tractors there, it's not an ideal setup with just one person, but it would definitely be manageable, and well, that's really the main thing. So yeah, basically I have decided that we are now going to hold on to our little international. Now it might not be forever, but we are going to hold on to it for the foreseeable future, because having 2 tractors there is obviously going to be a huge help to us when it comes to doing that silage. But I also like having the idea of a second tractor there. You know, our little Massey is reliable as hell, and touch wood that won't change, but if it ever did break down, we'd be, you know, our farm would come to a screeching halt pretty much. And just having the international there, it'd be a bit of backup, and I see that as a very positive thing. Like I say, we might not keep it forever. You know, it might get to the point where maybe next year we might have an extra 3 or 4 grand there to spare, and you know, if we could get 7,000 for it and we put another 4 or even 5,000 to it, maybe we could get ourselves a little tractor that would be, you know, maybe early 90s or even mid 90s, and something maybe that was a little bit more powerful, maybe 4-wheel drive, something like that. But yeah, we'll wait and see. We'll have to see what way things play out, of course. But yeah, it's been a busy day today. It's been all go. There's been a lot of running around in yokes, I know, as well. But I am going to get cracking on with the rest of this field, and hopefully I'll be able to get it done this evening. And I'm hoping to get down here and hopefully at least bring home 1, if not 2 loads of bales as well. But we'll have to wait and see what way it shakes out. But that is where we're going to do it for today, folks. As always, I hope everyone has enjoyed the video, and until next time, take care and good luck.